So we're here today at the Great American Ballpark to check out its accessibility. If you've read our little bio, you know that Doug and I and the rest of our little family are not sports people. So we have my brother Joel here.
Hello.
Cousin Crosley. And then my sister-in-law Jeannie in the background, and they're gonna help us navigate through this place that we know nothing about. What do you see? Yeah. Lily, what are you doing?
Should we throw baseballs at her face?
What? Can we do that?
He hit me in the leg. Want to do it again? That's cool. Want me to go throw a ball at you?
Was that scary?
Don't forget your first in here. Go.
Good throw, Lily.
We'll stop hogging him in a second.
Here we are back at our home, Meredith and Doug of This Place. We are ready to discuss the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Ohio. Gonna discuss its disabilities.
So far, this is disappointing.
All right. If you made it through that intro, thank you.
So I liked it. They seem to have some good stuff there. The Reds have a nice little ballpark. The setup, is a lot of walking. So if you've got to push a wheelchair around, you're going to be tired.
At one point during the night, our daughter really wanted cotton candy, and we didn't have any cash on us, so Doug had to walk to the complete other side of the ballpark in order to get cotton candy.
Yeah, they only have one actual vendor that's not the people that walk around that sell the cotton candy. And of course, it was on the other side of the ballpark. At least I didn't have to take elevators or stairs. Now, it would have been closer if I could have walked around the backside, but there was no elevators down to the back platform to walk around the backside where they have like the steam, I guess the stacks. That's what they're called.
Yeah, it's like a steamboat
Yeah,
type.
I could have got there a lot faster if I could have walked around that way, but there was no elevator down to the platform. It's just a stairs.
So we were on the first base line, and you had to go all the way to the third base line, and really out into the outfield.
Yeah, we was basically on the on the outfield part of the first base line, and I had to go to the third base line outfield.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was a long walk.
Now, talking about elevators, what was really interesting to me is that apparently some of the elevators went to specialty sections, and if you got on the wrong elevator, you would be harassed by security. This did not happen to us, but my brother told us that's what would happen. So if you are going on any level except for the first level there at the Great American Ballpark, make sure you check your elevators and you know you're going on the right elevator.
They all had signs, so you know if you're going to the right one.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of elevators and place, do we want to start talking about some of the special areas that we found, like the nursing areas?
Sure.
So there was a nursing area for if you got the babies that needs the baby milk. But there has an area there in the open where a few seats are. So if you need quiet time, they have the speakers turned down and anyone can go into the entrance area. And I guess they had a few rocking chairs there for you just to relax and get away from all the chaos for a little bit if you are getting overstimulated with audio.
Yeah. I can't say that I spent a lot of time in that area, so I can't really give a good estimate on how well of a sensory break that area provides. But when we asked about sensory accommodations, that's what they mentioned, is to go out there. Also out there, right on the outskirts of the stadium.
It's called the fan zone.
Yeah, it is. It's called the fan zone.
Yeah.
In that fan zone area, there's also a lot of fun things if you have a kid who really craves who craves sensory input, and so they have wiffle ball field, and they have
a play area, a little jungle gym.
A jungle gym, and there was another area too, which we didn't go down to because it had steps, but it was it had a
grassy area for you to run around play in.
Yeah. And
it had a slide to go down to it. So, I mean, you can get down there and someone else can carry the chair if you need a chair, but as an adult that didn't want to go down the slide, we didn't try that.
Yes. Now, talking about the stadium itself, I really liked where the accessible seats were and how that was set up.
Yeah, all the accessible seats are along the railing behind the, I guess, the row of seats. So you're at the top level of, either row one. Now, I know that was on the main platform. Now, I know there are also accessible seats on the further ups, like in the other areas, and they're all in the same place. So as you get off on the elevator, they're right there. They've got chairs that you can fold up or use, depending on if you need the seating or just use your own chair.
Yeah, and they're like Doug said, they're movable. So if you have, like we had, a stroller and a wheelchair, we could get two of those in about a space and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and it was a lot more convenient. And then I didn't have to carry her up and down the stairs.
Yeah, so interesting thing, when we went to buy our tickets, the guy at the ticket counter talked Doug into buying seats right up against the fence. But what that translated into was that our 7-year-old couldn't see.
Yeah, apparently the further back you get in the outfield, the further up the concrete barrier is. And so there's a concrete barrier that stood about 4.5 feet tall at that point. Now, as you get closer to the diamond, that barrier gets lower. And then you could see over it without a problem. But right where our seats were, our head was basically right against that barrier. So it ended up not being the best seats. I even talked to him whenever I bought it. I was wanting seats where she could stand up and watch the game at the field, and he said these were good seats. I guess he didn't realize that barrier got that tall.
So, what I would say is that don't let yourself be talked into that.
or make sure they know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Now we got to the ballpark early, and we went to the Reds Hall of Fame, and then we also ate at the mechanic room, which is in the
machine room.
Oh, thank you, the machine room, which was in the ballpark itself.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the Reds Hall of Fame, and so did our oldest Lily.
Yeah, big open spaces. Nothing. It's not like cramped. So you can, get around and not have to worry about bumping into people. All the exhibits had a lot of standing room around them, minus the Pete Rose baseball wall, which is covering the side where a staircase is. So if you want to see the whole wall, it's really difficult to see from the bottom. So you'd have to take the elevator up if you're like us with the wheelchair, and then go back out the doors, and then you can kind of see the top side of the wall. But the wall is really designed to enjoy as you walk up the stairs.
What I liked about the Reds Hall of Fame is that there was a lot of interactive things for kiddos to do, and our oldest was able to do most of those.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a child who's more physically challenged, or if you're more physically challenged, then perhaps you won't be able to interact with those as much.
Yeah. There was a pitching mound area which had a ramp up to it, so there was no stairs to get to that. And you had 2 mounds where you threw the ball, and it seeing how fast you threw it, and it would count strikes or balls.
Yeah.
I think the most we could get was about 32 miles an hour.
Doug could get 32 miles per hour, and the rest of us were lucky if we made it down the down the lane.
And then at the other end of it, if you're on the outside, there's a little place where you can put your head as the catcher and watch balls thrown at your face.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not as scary when people can't get the ball down to it, but I could see that'd be kind of scary on a real pitcher mound.
As for the machine room, that was wide open. They had some seating outside if you wanted to eat and watch the game at the same time, but all that seating was bolted down to the floor. Unless it was a high top table. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could get out there and kind of sit behind the seating, sort of. A lot of them was pretty tight, where you couldn't, if you were in a chair rolling around, you really couldn't get outside.
Yeah, so we ended up eating inside, and the food was okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was great.
Yeah, it was. We had the hamburger. It was a hamburger.
Yeah. Later on in the night, we went to, what was it, fan accommodations.
Yeah, the fan accommodations.
Which is at the front gate of the park, and we are told that's where you go if you have any questions about accessibility. So we went there, and I asked about food accommodations, and they actually have a list there of gluten-free food if you have a gluten sensitivity, so you know what you can buy at each place that's gluten-free. They also have a list of nut-free foods you could buy, but there is no section of the ballpark that is nut-free. So if you have a severe allergic reaction to nuts, I would just avoid the ballpark.
The only way you could really avoid the nuts if you have a high allergy and you really want to enjoy the park, get a hold of them, let them know your situation, and you could probably get a private, like one of the box seats.
You think so?
The box seats can be pricey, but if you have a group of 10, 15 people, I believe they seat a good amount of people up there. And that way, there may be leftover peanut shells from previous people, but they clean them. And if it's the game and you're the only one in the box seat.
Okay, but if you're the type of person who even goes into anaphylactic shock when you're in a room...
Avoid it. Yeah, there's peanut shells everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there was milk, though. They had the milk-free, egg-free. They had other allergy-free menus.
Oh, okay. Good, I didn't see those.
Yeah, they said, here's other food allergy menus, and they'll at least show you what each item had in them. So, all right, I think we probably talked for about 5 minutes. If not, we've talked for longer.
Oh.
But.
Okay. Well, then let's do our wrap-up, okay?
All right.
So, scale from 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Let's just go down the line. Let's talk about blindness or visually impaired.
Visually impaired? Being it's a ballpark, if you're really visually impaired, you almost want to bring your own radio so you can hear what's going on. Bring your own radio with headphones so you know what's going on. Otherwise, there's nothing there for you. So I give it a 1. Yeah, I would give it a 2 only because they offer the headphones if you need them. Oh, they do. Well, like in the walk, I'm talking about like in the Reds Hall of Fame. That's true. The Reds Hall of Fame, I would give that. Sorry, I didn't know if he's grouping it all in one. I would give the Reds Hall of Fame actually a probably a 4 for the. Yeah, visually impaired. So visually impaired, I'd probably give it a 3. They said they had headphones for people who are hard of hearing or deaf. But I don't know, but they didn't say that equated to an actual audio tour. So I can't really say one way or the other. So maybe a 3 for the Reds Hall of Fame. But for the ballpark, if you're visually impaired or blind, I'd give it a 1. Yeah, that makes the ballpark. Yeah. Okay, so hard of hearing or deaf, I would give the Reds Hall of Fame a 5 probably because they have that audio equipment. And then it's a ballpark. You're watching it, and the speakers are pretty loud. So even if you are pretty hard of hearing, you can hear the announcer. Oh, and they have two. Closed captioning boards. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So if you want to know what's happening when they do their little breaks and do games, you can read what's happening. For mobility disabilities, I would give it a 4. Yeah, I think a 4 is good. Yeah. Yeah. Mostly accessible. There are just a few things that you couldn't do if you had a mobility disability. The biggest thing with mobility, too, is like if you need to use the restroom, all of the sinks are the little push-down button water where you have, like, you've got to push, and then you've got, like, 30 seconds to get all your washing done. And so if you have a hard time with your hands, that could be frustrating. And I didn't see any adult changing tables. No, I did not. Yeah, no. I went in the men's restroom. They did not have a changing table that I noticed, but I did not go in to the stalls because they were occupied. Sensory disability? 4. I mean, they claim they have a room. They don't call it a sensory room, though. I think that... I would say it's a 3. I say you could get by, but I would bring your own set of headphones, noise-canceling headphones. Yeah, if you need the quiet time. Yeah, because they don't have an actual sensory room. I don't know if you want to take your child into a nursing suite, and I don't really know if that area outside in the fan zone is going to meet your needs. Yeah, so I agree. I think the other thing is that if you go when the Reds are playing well and they hit home runs, they get fireworks after each one, too. So if you're startled with the fireworks, something also to think about too.
Good point. So then the last thing is food sensitivities or allergies.
3?
3.
Yeah, just only because, the baseball song says that you need to have peanuts. So
they don't have a peanut-free zone.
yeah, because you got to have peanuts and Cracker Jacks.
Yeah. So I think that about sums it up. Anything?
I did.
Any closing remarks?
No, I do. I like the atmosphere on the outside. Like before you go in the ballpark, it was a really cool setup. Like with giant baseballs blocking off the area, so like cars can't get up on the sidewalk, and they had a bronzed area with a baseball diamond where the kids could play in the grass for a little bit. If just watch little ones that like to pull grass out.
Yeah. We shall not name names. One thing, last thing I want to mention, if you have a person who needs a straw to drink, you need to bring your own cup because they do not have lids or straws for their cups.
Yeah, they're all
Forgot
open
to
cups.
mention that.
Yeah.
So I think that's it.
I think so.
All right, thanks for tuning in. Until next month. Bye.
Bye.